I have to be the example of self-love, and no one wants to feel judged
exactly.
or
Yeah. And
having the fingers pointed at them
right.
constantly. The earlier anyone is able to stand on their own 2 feet and at least go out and get the experience.
Yeah.
Any experience, bad experience, good experience.
Right.
Experience, that's something that no one can take away from that individual. Let them go.
Male or female?
Let them go.
Do you want more kids?
I'll take one more.
Welcome to Anne-Marie's Impact. My name is Anne-Marie Emmanuel, and I love being on here, having raw conversations with real people as inspiration for those ready to elevate and dominate personally and professionally through the power of self-love. Join me on this transformative journey as we move from inner lack to inner lush together. Welcome again to Anne-Marie's Impact. Today, I am having an unapologetic conversation with Justin Kyle Emmanuel, a solar technician, Air Force veteran, a family man, a martial artist, and most importantly, my son. Justin, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. It is very much a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. So thank you for being here. So Justin, I'd like to start with the Empower project that we did together.
Yes.
Because I wanted to do Empower to get the conversation started about men and about men reframing masculinity, power, and purpose. Because to me, that was so needed, especially at the time. So thank you for being on there, first of all. I also wanted to have different men of different generations in that so they can express their views on masculinity so that we can see how things have changed. So what was that experience for you?
Well, it was a very interesting experience, especially, hearing the answers from all the different generations. And I think that was really the beauty of it, because it ended up pretty much being all the same.
Yeah, I think most of the interviewees said the same thing. I think the whole thing came together when as they were reading the other participants.
It all came full circle.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we all realized that we're actually not that different.
Yeah.
We might have different experiences, but in the end, our viewpoints are pretty much all the same.
Yeah, and you being the youngest one,
which is news to me.
Yeah, you were actually the millennial, right? All the way up to the I think the last generation, whatever that is, I can't remember. But yeah, it was most of the participants expressed that kind of feeling that they got, like they didn't expect it to turn out that way, and it did. Yeah. So can I ask you, would you change any of your answers?
Would I change any of my answers? As of now, I don't think so. No, I don't think I would.
But, I think for you, it's not going to change that much right now.
I would have to give it a little bit. Yeah. Because it was, we're talking what, 2
years ago.
2 years ago.
Right, 2 years ago. So it's pretty much, you haven't lived that much life since then.
Exactly.
So it's not going to change, yeah. So
I think they would still be the same.
Wow. Okay. So how have you grown as a man since then? Do you think?
Well,
for one thing, I think you're a father, right?
I'm a father now.
But you were a father then, right?
I was.
Young.
I was a father of an infant.
A new father.
A new father.
Right.
So I'm sure all the parents know that every 6 months is a different stage of parenting, a different stage of child raising.
Yeah.
And Ajani is three and a
Right.
half now. So it's quite different than when he was just born, and
Right. Right.
not just the age, and we went through a pandemic.
I
We were
know.
going through a
I
pandemic
know.
when Ajani was born,
Right.
and pretty much 2 years after that, we were still in the
In the
pandemic.
pandemic.
And it's
Yeah.
only until 2023, we're seeing a little bit of the light at the end of the
Right.
tunnel as far as
So
the
Ajani is now
lockdown and
3, right? And I believe he's just finishing up the terrible twos, what we call the terrible twos.
the twos weren't
I
that
think it was
terrible.
terrible ones with you
The twos
guys.
weren't that
I
terrible.
don't know
It's the
about
terrible
terrible twos.
threes.
Yeah. But so let's talk about discipline. How has your training in the Air Force and as a martial artist, how is that impacting your ability to discipline Ajani? And thinking back to when we disciplined you, how has that changed, if it has changed?
It hasn't changed at all. Um, I take everything. I take everything that I can possibly remember from my childhood,
Right.
from going to the military, being in martial arts since I was a child.
Right.
I take all of it, mesh it together, come up with these systems in my head, and I implement it. And it's really trial and error.
So you're the discipliner in the family,
I am.
would you say?
I am.
You could have
100%.
right? Yeah.
100%. No, because I
discipline
believe
is
in it.
important to you.
It's
Right.
very important to me. I believe in it. I believe it works. It can help anyone and everyone become that much better of the human that they want to become.
Right. So, as you're speaking, I'm thinking back to a pivotal moment in my parenting. And that was when I had to exercise the most tough love in my experience with you. And that was, let me remind you when that was, if you don't remember.
Please. I think I know what you're talking about, but
It was the time that I had to ask you to leave my house.
when it was time to go. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it was like I said, it was the most difficult thing that a parent has to do is to exercise tough love. And at that point, I felt like I wasn't angry. It was like a light bulb went on in me saying that this is not his fault, this is your fault. Because I think I was putting up with some stuff for quite a while and not taking the action I needed to take with you. And when that time came, I was very, very frustrated, and I realized that it's you, it's not him. You not taking responsibility as a parent and holding on, enforcing the consequences that you need to enforce. So we had one of the most loving conversations. I remember that day.
I remember that. I remember
It was
as
not
well.
a fight. It was just me explaining to you that I needed to feel, when I walk into my house, I needed my space to feel like heaven, like my sacred space. And you were in violation of that. And I explained to you the impact that it was having on me. I explained to you that I was not in a position to really take care of you anymore because you were a man then. I think you were
remember
5
that.
years into manhood, right? And you just really, what I loved about it is the way you took responsibility. You did not defend, you did not argue, you did not blame. And yeah, like I said, it was one of the most loving and powerful conversations that we had. And I think we even hugged each other after.
Yeah, yeah. Well, here's the thing. I mean, ever since I was small, you were always very open with me. We were always in conversation at a certain level that I don't think most parents really have with their children at very young ages. Which
Right.
we had those conversations.
Yeah, we did.
We were always in that conversation of just self-improvement, betterment, anything, any topic you can think of. You were very transparent with me about your feelings on certain topics, whether it be your marriage, the house, bills, things that parents usually would say, yeah, you're too young to understand that.
Right.
I was never too young to
No, you were
understand that
never
in
too
your
young.
eyes. So from a child, I always had to step up in understanding what was going on in most situations. Obviously, you saved me from, what you had to save me from in terms of
Right.
things that I really probably would not have understood at that age.
Right.
So by the time we came around to having that conversation, for one, I think I already knew it was coming. I did. From previous times when you had expressed to me, your feelings, and sometimes I can give myself a kick in the butt,
Right.
and say, dang, I could have did that differently, or
But
I know
how
I'm
did
not
you really feel in that moment?
in the moment.
Like, I felt like at that point, I was so certain of what I was doing that I didn't know. So the thing is, I had asked you to leave. I had given you 2 weeks to leave. You took 3 days and you left, right? And for the first time, I had to turn off the mother code because I didn't even care where you went. And some of my friends thought I was really mean and nasty and cruel. But I just knew that I was the eagle in that moment where I dropped the child, and I knew the child had to fend for themselves. So how did you feel in that moment, or did,
In that moment, I felt no resentment. I felt no hurt, no pain. I felt I was ready to make that leap myself.
Oh, okay. So I kind of helped pushed you.
Honestly, 100%. I think you helped give me that extra push to really go out and get my feet wet.
So was there a time, like after that, that you realized that it was the right thing that I did? Because I remember
In
you
the
had
exact
told me.
moment.
Oh, in that moment. But how come you never told me then?
I didn't think I had to.
You could have eased a lot of things.
No, I didn't think I had. I like to toe the line. I like to toe the line. Sometimes I get away with what I can get away with.
I think that's
for a little too long.
What was going on, yeah.
But
Yeah.
I understood it all. I
Right.
was in a place in my life where, I understood what responsibility was, and I understood, by that time, if I didn't fulfill my responsibility, that consequences can arise, and that's
Right, yeah.
exactly what happened.
Yes.
And it wasn't
yes.
the first time that consequences arise, because of my own actions.
So that leads me to another question, right? You had just come out of the Air Force. That was sort of like an in-between period for you.
Yeah.
And one of the
Yeah.
things that I really couldn't understand was that, so I have these expectations that he's an Air Force person, his level of responsibility is high and all of that. So, but during that time, I wasn't seeing that from you. So what caused the drop or the dip in your responsibility? What, were you going through something else that probably needed to be discussed or talked about, or did you ever figure that out?
Well, I was still trying to figure out how to be an adult.
Yeah.
Now, when you're in the military, you got to remember also, they tell you every last step of what to do. So it's almost like we're fulfilling their responsibility,
Right.
not our own.
Not your own. Oh, that's tough. That's
Right?
really, really deep right there.
From the job that they give you, to the clothes that they give you, to the room that they give you,
Yeah.
you're there to fulfill their responsibility.
Right. Right.
You understand? So, in coming out to the civilian world,
Yeah. It's like freedom from
it's two things. It's
responsibility.
kind of freedom from responsibility,
Right.
right? So you're kind of like, well, if I don't have to, then why would I?
Ah, yeah.
You know, what am I gonna get? I'm not gonna go AWOL. You know, who am
Yeah.
I going AWOL to?
Right.
You know,
And that's
I don't
really
have that
important
big
for us
brother
to
on my
discuss
back.
this because I think parents, usually when children are being a certain way, the first thing we tend to feel is like they're doing it to us. And it really has nothing to, it had nothing to do with me or so. It was just you being in a zone, doing what you can get away with, right? So what message would you send to parents about, disciplining, not even disciplining, but being able to deal with adult children who are not living up to the responsibilities or
Let
yeah,
them go.
male or female?
Let them go. Let them go because you'll be doing them a huge service.
I think so.
A huge service. The earlier anyone is able to stand on their own 2 feet and at least go out and get the experience.
Yeah.
Any experience, bad experience, good experience.
Right.
Experience, that's something that no one can take away from that individual.
And I'll even add struggle to that because
Struggle,
I think
yeah.
most parents want to avoid their children from going through struggle, and the very thing that's going to up their level of responsibility and they give the strength that they need to survive and to make themselves into men or women. I think we
Excuse
take that away from them, and when I look back at that 5-year period that I was allowing you to be irresponsible, it's like I took something away from you during that time.
Right.
Yeah.
And me as a parent now, you know, having been through that and seeing it with my own eyes, experiencing it, I have all the information in the world.
Okay, Johnny.
Right?
Yes.
I will be implementing a lot of these disciplinary tactics, if you will,
Right.
with my own children.
Yeah.
Because why not? Let's see where it goes.
Yeah.
Right? I for one will, I think it'll only make them stronger.
Oh,
In the
definitely.
end,
Definitely.
the sooner he's able to be responsible, the easier it is on him and the easier it is on us as parents.
Right. Right. So, another tough question. What was the biggest impact that I had on you?
The biggest impact. I'll have to think about that for a sec.
Okay, so let me just, I'm thinking of the time when you were 16 years old and I participated in the Landmark program, which is the leadership program. And I saw transformation in myself, but I also saw transformation in you. By me,
After
just
you
me, yeah,
did it.
just by me taking it, yeah, doing that program. And to me, that was the one thing that created a relationship between you and I that is unlike the typical relationship of parents and teenagers. Because I
agree.
never had the typical complaints that other parents had as a teenager, when you were a teenager, from that point on. And just before that, you were becoming very typical, right? For more reasons than one. So, I what do you think about that program and how valuable do you think it was?
I thought it was extremely valuable because, I mean, from the moment you came home and told me that, you participated in this, whatever it was, at the time I didn't know,
Right.
You know, the change that I saw in you, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen you in that state or frame of mind. At least not in those recent times. You know, with everything going on in our
Right.
family,
Yeah.
and I don't think I felt that sense of happiness or freedom from you in a while,
Yeah. It
and it
was
kind of
freeing.
surprised me
Yeah.
and made me interested in what the work was.
Yeah, because I remember, I was telling you, you were asking questions. You were actually coming into my room and sitting at the foot of my bed and talking about things. And I was like, what? And then I told you about the program, and I asked you if you are willing to participate, and you said yes. Yeah.
I don't think there was ever a period in my life where I didn't trust you or trust your word or teachings or whatever you told me. It was always the truth, or at least close to it.
Right.
So, you know, there was no resistance. If you told me something worked and I should try it, I'm 100% probably going to try it. And, you know, that was my mindset at the time. You know, regardless of whatever we were going through before Landmark,
Right.
there wasn't, you know, I might have acted up, given you some headache, but never once did I not trust you, you know,
Right.
as my parent, as my mom.
But I think the thing with that program is it's all about the communication. It was we got a different language and a different way of communicating.
Right.
One that was received by each other.
Powerful
Sure,
on both
yeah,
sides.
on both sides. A way of communicating that did not make the other person feel wronged, or So
I think that's where a lot of
yeah,
the feelings of, or maybe not distrust. I like I said, I've always trusted, but how should I say it? What's the good word for the feeling that I used to feel whenever you would talk to me, or tell me to do something, or you know, before Landmark, we didn't have that conversation, that level of conversation.
right. But one of the biggest things I learned
I
about,
always I used to feel like you were telling me that I was wrong.
yeah, that's one of the biggest things that I think the biggest transformation that takes place in Landmark is giving people a language so that the other person doesn't feel wrong. And I wished they had taught this in school. I wished that people would just for that one thing, go ahead
Yeah.
and consider participating in that program, because that's the magic right there. Speaking in a way that the other person doesn't feel wrong, and I think that's why most people, after a while, don't hear you. And this is what happens
Yeah,
with
you
kids.
create a mental block after
Yeah,
a certain
because you know
while.
exactly what the person's going to say, how they're going to say it, and most of the times, speaking out of frustration,
Right.
not speaking from love.
And no one
Yeah.
wants to
Yeah,
feel judged
exactly.
or, you know,
Yeah, and
having the fingers pointed at them
right.
constantly.
And that was powerful, because ever after that, we've never had, and that's not to say that we didn't have
Little
disagreements,
disagreements.
right?
We're human.
Yeah, we
We're
had
going to.
disagreements, and we had issues, and sometimes you were up, sometimes you were down, sometimes I was up, sometimes I was down. But once we recognized that, we had conversations that brought us right back to that
Right.
place of love and affinity with each other, rather than
Distant.
distant and arguments and
Right.
and blaming and distrust and all the drama that comes
Oh,
with
there's a lot of blame.
that. So
There's
I
a
am
lot
so
of blame
thankful.
being
Yeah.
flung around.
Yeah. So Justin, we just spoke about communication and how it has improved love, affinity, and just beautiful relationship between us. You know, so is there something that you would add to that in terms of your disciplining or raising a
Like
Johnny?
for my own child, yeah.
Yeah,
For
so yeah.
I think I touched on it a second ago about the transparency and not withholding information that, long ago they used to say a child shouldn't know, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
or we shouldn't talk about that in front of the children,
Right.
and obviously there are still things that we can save them from, like I said before. But for the most part, I want to be as transparent as I possibly can with my son, in all areas of life, in all
Yeah.
aspects of our relationship, and even things that have to do with me and Anna Kay, or or me and my parents, just everything down to the bills we pay, and
Right.
where everything comes from,
Right.
where he came from,
Right. So,
you know.
so Ajani is in the world out living as a normal human being, and you have had this transformative education. He doesn't get that out in the world or in schools and so on. How do you intend to have him receive that kind of transformation? Because even when, let's say, you never participated in the leadership program, and there are many others nowadays, that's not the only one, right? So, do you think that some kind of formal leadership program is necessary for him too, or do you think you can transfer that information to him?
Children only listen to their parents up until only so much.
Right,
That's historically been proven as a thing.
right,
No matter how much they trust you, how much
right.
what kind of beautiful relationship you have with your children, there's still, especially when they get into their
In the
preteens and,
teens,
that
yes.
critical age, there's still a bit of a disconnect where children aren't interested in always just listening to their parents, because I think they long for another type of experience from a stranger, or you know what I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
an
Yeah.
outsider's
Yes.
experience, because as they get older, we're not perfect. No one's perfect as humans, and as parents we're certainly not all perfect. And by the time they're that age, they get to kind of see your imperfections and
Yes.
realize, all right, maybe mom and dad don't have 100% of the answers. They're not always
Yeah.
right on everything.
Yeah.
So I think that's important, because I don't think me alone can have as big of an impact in that specific conversation
Right.
as if he were to take a course, so to say, or just experience something
Yeah.
outside of my
Outside.
conversation,
Yeah.
you know?
And I believe strongly in, and this is the work that I do to get everyone to understand the importance of self-love. And I'm working with a group of young children right now, and they're getting it. They're getting it so fast
I
because
see
they
it for
don't have.
myself.
Yeah, you were there
I
last
see it
week,
for
and you
myself.
see, right? And
Wonderful group of kids.
I think any program or any institution that is offering that authentic self-love, training in authentic self-love and helping
Even from that
individuals from
age.
that age is even better from that age, because I think that there's less baggage to offload,
You
right?
took the words out my mouth.
That's why they get it. So do you see yourself? I mean, I wish I had a Johnny onto me all the time because he would definitely get self-love. So how do you intend to ensure that he understands that level of consciousness in self retrospection?
Not only through conversation, but I have to be the example of self-love.
Right.
I have to be that example. He needs to see me because I'm his direct
Yeah.
example. We
Yes.
live under the same roof.
Yes.
He sees me every day.
Right.
You know, at some point of the day, he's going to see me.
Right.
So I have to be that example. I have to be self-love,
Exactly.
you know.
Yeah.
And
Well,
if I am self-love,
Yeah.
I mean, what choice does he have?
I can tell he's in good hands. I can tell he's in good hands.
What choice does he have?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's false.
He's gonna see me. He's gonna eat, sleep, breathe me.
Yeah. Do you want more kids?
I'll take one more.
Okay. Because I need one more grandchild.
He needs
from
a sibling. He needs a sibling.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree.
He does.
Yeah.
So I think one more will do
Yeah.
for now. We'll see how the atmosphere is in the world
Yeah.
in a couple of years.
You gotta give him a sibling.
Well, he needs a sibling, yeah.
Yeah.
And they can grow in conversation
Yeah. Because
together.
I did not want another sibling, and your brother forced me to do it, and I am so glad he did.
That's good to know.
When I've had you, number one, number two, I really see the impact of, the two of you having each other.
Yeah. Even more now,
God,
more
how
so
could I
now
not
than
have
ever.
done that,
Now than
right?
ever.
Now more than ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our relationship is very, very strong.
Oh, that's good to know.
Very strong.
That's good. I can't wait to have him in my chair too. Whenever he's in Trinidad.
We'll get him down.
My firstborn.
That'll be nice. That'll be nice.
Justin,
Yeah.
thank you
That'll be
so
exciting.
much.
Thank
for
you.
being on the show.
Thank you for
this
having
was
me.
really powerful.
Yeah.
And
Quite unexpected.
I
I really didn't expect it. No,
this,
not at
but
all.
I could not let you come to Trinidad and not put you in the hot seat. So thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to be here.
And
It really
really
is.
good to hear some of the things that you were saying, made me feel good as a
Anything
parent.
surprising from my end?
Not really, not really.
No.
But sometimes it's good to hear it, that your child appreciates what you did and the disciplining and, going through the tough times and all of that. Yeah.
This is what it means to better ourselves as humans.
Yeah.
Reach a higher level. This is the the ground.
Right.
This is the ground of what it takes.
Yeah.
This is how it all starts.
And I am just blessed, really, really blessed that we can have this kind of relationship together. It's priceless.
Absolutely.
And I wouldn't give it up for anything in the world.
Absolutely.
And I thank you. I thank you for being there for me, for being a listening ear. And I mean, we have conversation like 3-4 hours, right?
Come on. We can talk.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
This episode was made possible by the generous contribution of Kent Mitchell.